Hello, and welcome to a new episode of The Unskilled Commander Possibilities. Let's check out these three commanders we've got lined up today. Feldon, the Third Path, Guafa, Hazard Profiteer, and Thalia, Heretic Cathar. So first off, we've got Feldon of the Third Path, Feldon, a 2/3 for 3, not bad. And the ability is paid 3, tap this creature, Feldon, and put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature card in your graveyard, except it's an artifact. In addition to its other types, it gains haste, and you sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Now, this isn't like the best ability or commander possibly. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments by all means. I don't know. I haven't heard about many people making the Feldon of the Third Path commander decks, but it's there. It's kind of got potential. Well, I guess that's a little arrogant for me to say. I don't know, but anyway, I chose it because I thought it'd be something interesting to think about. So in and of itself, it's a 2/3 for 3, nothing crazy, and the ability is good, but of course you have to tap it in order to use it. So it's once per turn essentially, unless you can find ways to untap target permanent. And then what you're doing is you're making a token copy of something in your graveyard, and it doesn't even stay around. It just gains haste, you can swing with it, and it goes away. So I think this would be a very challenging one to build because you'd need to really play around with, it's mono red, so you don't have the black throw things into your graveyard abilities as easy, but you would want to figure out a way to get cards into your graveyard, decent cards, obviously, creatures. Yeah, it has to be a target creature card in your graveyard, so it has to be, something like that. And these creatures have to have either good effects or they just have to be big bomb creatures. Darn it, sorry, I'm wobbling the table again. So it would be, I'm not even sure the best way to do it, honestly, but it sounds like it could be fun. I know there's ways to, chain untaps where it's like I do this, I untap this, I tap it again and do this, but that makes this other thing untap. And so I know there's ways to do that, and that'll actually come into play for this second commander as well. But yeah, it would definitely be a lot of like a mixture of big damaging creatures and creatures that have really good enter the battlefield triggers, because it says put a token onto the battlefield, so it would have an ETB, even though it's a token, and then you'd sacrifice it, and so maybe even creatures that have tap abilities, because it has haste, so you can tap it to activate that tap ability, whatever it may be. So again, this would definitely be outside of my wheelhouse and my skill level in terms of figuring out a fun and yet effective way to play this deck, or build it rather. So then moving on from that, we've got Guafa, the Profiteer. 2/2 for 3, not that great in terms of the comparison of mana value to power toughness. But we have a multicolor card at least, white and blue. Again, no access to real ramp, and those are both like tricky cards to ramp into when without green to begin with. So you need that whole artifact thing, which I talk about a billion times. But pay a white and a blue and tap bribery, or tap Guafa and put a bribery counter on target creature you don't control. Its controller draws a card, and creatures with bribery counters on them can't attack or block. Now it does have, because of the blue and the white, I would definitely kind of go pillow fort with this deck. All of them. So you've got Norn's Annex, Propaganda, Ghostly Prison. Those are like white and blue spells where people can't attack you unless they pay to or whatever. I would put all of those available in there, because that's basically what he does. He makes it, and then I think I would also toss in a handful, like maybe 5 towards 10 cards, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 of the cards like Arrest, which says enchant creature can't attack or block, and it's a lockdown. And I've always wanted to put them in decks, and I try to, and then I end up cutting them because there's other themes that should go in better or whatever. I think this would be a fun, just no one does anything deck. It's not the kind of deck I think you would want to play all the time, because You don't want to stop everyone from playing Magic all the time, and then no one's having fun. And then I would definitely look up, I'd really have to do the research and find the way to chain that whole tapping, untapping thing so that you can put more than one bribe counter out on a turn. Because one a turn is not really going to lock down a board state. It's not going to save you, all that much unless you're getting hit by commander damage. Okay, but, someone's dropping an Emrakul and a bunch of other giant Eldrazi or whatever, and you can only stop one of them. It's not really going to matter that much. So you definitely need to figure out the way to chain to be able to untap him at least a couple times per turn on a consistent basis is what I'm saying. Not just like a spell that untaps a creature because then it's gone. But I would definitely do a massive pillow fort, all of the Ghostly Prison stuff, all of the arrest cards that lock down all the other opponents, and then bribery counters on top of them. Well, not on top of those same creatures, but in addition to, so that you're covering as many creatures as possible per turn that just can't do anything. It just sits there. And depending on how you play your cards, right, politics-wise within Magic, if you can lock down big creatures on someone else's board, you might... Now, doing this in general is going to get you the ire of the table. They're going to come swinging with whatever they have left. However, like I'm saying, if you can play it just right, where it's like, okay, yeah, I've lock down one of your creatures over here and one of your creatures over here, but, the fourth player is the real threat. I've stopped most of them. You can probably coax and hope that the other players will go over there first because that is the threat, and you're helping them get an open path in while you build your board state, and then you lock down everybody else, and then you try and find a way to win. The win con is the tricky part of this. You just need a couple good creatures in there, I think. Maybe some high cost and high power toughness, blue, white, or both creatures, Couple, maybe some angels, maybe some flying angels that are decent, especially if they give you some lifelink, or maybe, a couple of the big Krakens or Leviathans that can, can't be countered or, have whatever, so that they can, so you lock everybody down, no one can really do much, and then you have the creatures that can swing in and nobody can block. So this would be a fun one to build, but it would definitely take a skills level to do it because, like I said, you have to build it just right. Otherwise, you're just playing nothing except for some enchantments, and you're getting smacked in the face anyway. Or because once people get to mid game, paying 2 per creature to attack you isn't necessarily a big deal. If they don't have any creatures to play and they've got 12 mana, yeah, fine, I'll pay all 12 to let my 6 creatures swing at you. So you're not safe just because you have Ghostly Prison or whatever. Then finally, we have Thalia, Heretic Cathar. A 3/2 for 3. Not bad. With first strike, though, so that does make it better. And then creatures and non-basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. So, again, that's sort of like a Pillow 40, commander, in the sense that it's just slowing your opponents down for one turn. It's not really doing much to alter the game that drastically. I'd still probably toss whatever of the consoles or, thingy that it's the white enchantment that says pretty much the same thing. Anytime a creature comes in under an opponent's control, it comes in tapped, and when an opponent gets a creature, you gain a life. So I would put that in there to just sort of like have that extra layer. There's still 2 cards out of 100. But, this one, mono white, again, tricky on the mana base, so you got to really ramp with artifacts, and and I'd go, angels, humans, something like that, I'd try to go something that would get fast, because the idea is you're only, they play a creature comes in tapped, okay, shields are down, but that's only if they don't have other creatures from the prior turns. So you're not really doing anything drastic. It's only if someone's playing a deck that's going to pump out a ton of tokens per turn. Well, it's like, okay, well, they made 6 tokens this turn, but they all come in tapped. They only have like 2 actual other creatures. So that's good. But as soon as they untap, they now have 6 new creatures on the field that are, doing stuff. So again, this isn't necessarily a great idea for a commander, but it was something that I thought I could at least, work with and talk about. And there's probably ways to utilize that whole, your opponent's creatures coming in tapped to your benefit, other than just, swinging in. I got to imagine I'd have to look it up. It would have to be research. But there's probably some cards that do something based off that. Like, oh, if opponent's creature comes in tapped, it does a damage to them or something crazy. Whether that's in white or not, I don't know. But, there should be something else to play off of this. So do you know? Do you know what else you could use Thalia for? Or is she just a bad commander? Because she really doesn't. Good card to have in your 100, or in your 99 rather, but not the best commander. I don't know. What do you guys think about all three of these? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time.